Well, we're on air. Hello, guys. Hello, everybody. We're on our Drumtalk Russia channel. As you know, it is a channel related to drumming. And now we have Paul Mazurkiewicz. We all know that his last name is spelled so, not Mazurkiewicz as Americans say.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. And we've got a lot of geeky, nerdy drumming questions. Paul, get started. First of all, how do you feel physically and mentally in extreme drumming at your age?
Oh, good question. And it doesn't get any easier the older you get, right? So it's a daily struggle. Not, I hate to say struggle, but you're not 20 years old anymore, right? You're not 30 years old, and you definitely got to work a little bit harder, to maintain and all that. But hey, I feel pretty good. Obviously,
You had a birthday not so long ago.
That's right. Just about 2 weeks ago,
53.
not even.
Is it correct?
53. I just turned 53. So it's crazy to think that I'm still doing it at this age. Really, I mean, I would have never thought growing up that I'd be still playing music or in a band, and let alone playing crazy death metal, right? So
You're very energetic at your age.
yeah, that's for sure. I mean, like I said, you just got to maintain. You got to keep it going. It's easy. You miss a couple of days, say a practice, or you're complacent for a day or two, and you're not doing too much. You really notice the difference. And ironically enough, we're talking about this. I went to go practice today by myself and played some drums, and I haven't played much in the last, say, week or so. I've been playing a lot, but not as much as I normally do. And what a difference it does make, like I was saying, in the I wouldn't be ready to go right away to be able to play a show. I would need a lot more work in that way. So
You have
yes,
to practice a
it's
lot, yeah?
not easy getting old.
You have to practice all the time.
Yes, that's right.
And have you practiced today?
Yep. I was up at the practice room today, and
It's in your, it's in
just
your house?
trying to maintain.
It's in your house, yeah?
No, actually, it's I gotta go drive. We're in a facility where the band practices. It's like a warehouse kind of a setting, and I never really had a drum set or anything in my house.
Wow.
I don't know. It was always cool to go somewhere, to meet the guys, to go to the place where you play. And that's just the way I've always been my whole life, basically. And there's times where it would be nice to have a kid at the house, but then, but it's the way I've done it my whole life,
Maybe
so it's
your
kind of almost like,
neighbors
why start
don't.
now?
Maybe your neighbors don't like your playing.
They probably wouldn't, and I don't think the insulation in my house would be able to be is good enough here. So it's probably best that I go somewhere else to play.
That's great. It was our first question of 50. The second one. What heavy bands from Russia do you know?
Oh, bands?
Bands, yeah.
Not many, really. I mean, not when
Please
I
name
think
it.
about it. Yeah, I don't even know if I know any names. I don't even know if I know any names of
Slaughter
any
to
Russian.
Prevail, maybe? Have you heard?
Is that Slaughter? The name sounds familiar,
Yeah.
but I'm not familiar with them. I think I've heard of that name, and then if I have, I wouldn't have even known they were Russian. I am so out of the loop these days. Yeah.
They're all Russians.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Slaughter to Prevail. Okay, I
yeah.
didn't. All right.
Okay, next question. What are your favorite bands and which ones have influenced you as a drummer? Who did rub off on you in the early ages?
Well, a lot of the early stuff in the 80s, obviously, all that thrash and heavy metal that we grew up with back then like I said, in the early 80s. So I mean, it was bands like Metallica, of course, and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest that started it out, and then Slayer. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, Dave Lombardo is my idol. When Slayer came into play, and especially, of course, the album Rain and Blood came out. I mean, then it really hit me hard, going, this is what I would love to try to emulate, is Dave Lombardo. So, but so like I said, just great drummers in the thrash scene and the heavy metal scene back in the 80s. Those were all super influences. Another big one, and how can you not be a fan no matter what kind of music you like or anything, is Neil Peart from Rush.
He passed away.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, unfortunate,
Unfortunately,
very unfortunate, but he was obviously just such a huge influence on so many musicians and drummers alike. But he was a big influence on me growing up as well.
okay. How often do you rehearse right now? With
Well,
the
I
band?
mean, yeah, well, not too much right now with the band. I mean, we just if you know what's going on, we just played that show in Las Vegas
Yeah.
about a month ago. That was the first show we played in over a year and a half. So we of course practiced a lot, to prepare for that show. And now we're not sure when our next tour is going to happen. It may not happen until the beginning of next year here in the United States. We're still working on these things and details. So I try to practice maybe every other day. At least go to the practice facility and hit the drums at least every other day for now. Just to keep in shape. Now, of course, if we had a tour coming up soon, then I would be playing every day, and I would play more. Just to prepare for that. So kind of take a little bit of a break right now. Just I think it's kind of needed. So
That's great. How much time does it take to record an album in the studio for you right now?
well, I mean, if you're gonna go by the last few records that we've recorded, Violence Unimagined, Red Before Black, you go back maybe 4, 5, 6 albums. We usually spend a good maybe 2 to 3 months at least, in the studio, getting it all together. Take our time. You just before you know it, that's just how much time is needed to really make it sound as best as we can make it, and with as little time as possible. So we seem to be in between the 2 to 3 months depending on the situation. So.
Oh, great. How has it ever happened that your drums or pedals broke during a performance?
Yes, of course. How could they not, right? We got. It's funny you asked that. I use the Czarcie, Kopyto.
Yeah.
I use those pedals, and amazing drum pedals. Of course, I
Best
recommend
ones for
them to
metal.
anybody. They're amazing. What a piece of work, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But what happened? The last probably thing that broke on me was a spring broke on the pedal on the Czarcie when he ended up making new springs, and then he had to go back to the originals, and he was like, yeah, don't use these, they're going to break. And of course what happened, one broke, and we were in England. It wasn't London, but we were a show in England, and the pedal broke in the middle of the set.
Wow.
And yeah, and I didn't really I didn't have a backup at the time.
You
And
didn't
we
have
had
the
to.
second one?
What's that?
You didn't have the second one?
No, I didn't at the time. And we had to, my drum tech, of course, had to replace the spring, and it took, a few minutes. And you know how that is during a show. A minute's going to seem like 10 minutes. 5 minutes is going to seem like 30. Because you're in the middle of the performance. So it wasn't fun. I know the guys weren't happy. Nobody was happy, but it happened. But ever since that day, I remember I told Vladek at the pedal company. I said, "Hey, I need another set of pedals, because if this happens again, we need to change that pedal out instantly and not have this problem." So luckily, I was able to obtain another set, and but then knock on wood. I haven't had a problem with any of the pedals, because that's where you're really going to go wrong. I think it has the most, potential to go wrong in the pedal department, I guess. So,
Actually, it's the first time that I hear that springs are broken for Czarcie.
well, like I said, you know what it was? He made the first pedals he made, and the first springs and beaters were great.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, the second batch, he used a different company, he said, for the springs and the beaters. And then I had the springs on. And then I remember him even telling me, those are bad, don't use them. So he went back to the original. Because we're talking, this was years ago now, obviously. I've been using the pedals for 10 years. So it would have been, this was probably, right, 9 years ago. or whatever, right in the beginning of that all. So I knew he learned the hard way, and I learned the hard way. But ever since then, going back to the original make of the springs and the beaters, there hasn't been a problem. So
Okay. Does it happen that you sit down to record a part and you make it for one take? What song was recorded this way?
it's rare, but there's been a couple. I mean, over the years.
Under Smashed Face, maybe?
Well, back then when you had less time, things were a lot quicker. A lot of the first album actually was probably done in a lot of one take.
You used tapes, not computers. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. You're using the 2-inch tape, and you don't have much time. Like we were just talking about the new records, when you have 2 to 3 months to record. The first album back in 90, we had like 10 days to get the whole album done, right? Wow. From start to finish. So you're having to do things a lot quicker. And I remember, I believe most of that would have been, and a lot of that was probably one take. It's hard to remember these days, being, we're talking 30 plus years ago, right? So, but a lot of the early stuff was done in one take. I know some of the newer stuff, I think I might have done in a 1 or 2 songs that you get, you might get it in one take, but it's definitely rare, but yeah, the early stuff would be the answer on that for sure.
Okay, what was the funniest and most ridiculous thing about the tour, which you can remember right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's, I'm sure there's been a lot of stuff. There's always some funny things happening and some crazy stuff happening. This isn't funny, but I remember a big incident that happened to me in 1994 on the Bleeding tour, where there was a fight after the show outside in Holland, in the streets, and our band and a couple of the bands we were touring with were involved. To make a long story short, I ended up getting stabbed with a key in my side here. And this was the second day of the tour, and I remember having to go to the hospital, and luckily it was just, said they found out it was a key. The guy probably, hit me with a key, and I thought I was gonna, I thought I could have been stabbed with a knife, right? And, I'm waiting to fall over, and that's the end of me. But luckily everything went well. But like I said, we're in the starting of a tour, and I just got a hole in the side of my abdomen here, and I gotta play drums, right? So I remember luckily it all worked out. I remember it not being a problem to play, but it was definitely an incident that I'll never forget, because it was like a very, very crazy story, and I'll never forget that. So,
it's not funny, but it's interesting.
Yes, yeah, that's it. It's definitely not funny, but it. Yes.
Why have you cut your hair?
Yes, I did.
Why have you cut your hair?
I was just getting sick of my hair. I mean, when I was really young, you look at the old pictures, and I had very long hair, like down to here, and it was, and then for some reason it just started to not grow anymore, and it was like almost kind of going the other way, and then it ended up being more like kind of bushy, maybe like say 10 years ago or something. And then I was like, I think I live in Florida. I mean, it's so hot. Playing the drums is hot. I mean, I kind of felt like different than I felt when I was growing up as a teenager. Of course you wanted long hair, and it's very important for music, and that's what a part of it, right? Yeah. So the older I got, I'm a father now. I mean, is it as important to have this long hair? Is it really defining me now? I mean, I would hope not, and I would hope it's our music, of course, and not the way we really look, those kinds of things. So I just, I didn't care. I'm like, and I'll tell you, I love it.
Right,
I love it. So.
Very great. Did you take any lessons in your life?
Nope, I never did. I never have taken any lessons. I basically self-taught myself.
When you got some back issues, you told that you had some teacher. No?
No, the only thing I ever did, I remember the back issue. That was well documented when we were recording. When I hurt my back, I know that's was the making of I don't even remember what album we were making. Maybe it was Torture. I don't even remember. But we just used that inversion table, to make me to help me out to fix my back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but never any lessons. I've never taken lessons. I never had a drum teacher or anything of that nature.
Okay. Tell about your relationships with ex-bandmates.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really talk too much. Bob Rousset, we kicked him out a long time ago, and he kind of fell off the face of the earth for us, and we'd never spoken to him, and then Chris Barnes, kind of the same thing. We kicked him out, and there was really no reason. I mean, we felt we're bettering the band. I mean, so I don't really talk to him at all. I mean, Jack Owen would be the one that he quit the band, and we never had a problem with Jack or anything. We weren't going to kick him out like we did Barnes and Rousset. So we're good with Jack. I still don't talk to him very often.
He's going to Deicide, yeah?
And then he went into Deicide right after Cannibal, right? And now I know he's not in Deicide anymore.
Yeah.
But now he's playing with Barnes and 6 Feet Under.
Yeah.
And then the Pat thing happened, and he's out of the band, and we don't really deal with him anymore. So yeah, I mean, past members come and go, and you move forward, and that's just the way life goes, I guess.
Okay. Do you know drum notes, and how do you memorize your drum parts?
Oh, just by memory. Yeah, just by repetition, by playing, by hearing, listening. Because
how much time do you have to repeat the song to remember it, to memorize it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it depends on the songs. You got to just repetition. Some of these new songs that we're doing, like say off of Violence Unimagined, some of the songs that Alex writes, I mean, they're so crazy. I need to listen to them and absorb them for a month or two before I really get it and it's in my head, and be able to play it, because it's very intricate and a lot of the drumming. So it depends on the songs. But with me, the best thing is repetition, just playing it, keep on playing it. I can read some, simple drum music, I guess. I could probably read a little bit, but I don't rely on that whatsoever. It's just strictly, memorizing those songs by listening.
Do you slow down your parts to hone them?
Sometimes we did, like say when Alex would, I don't like to do that per se myself. I like to kind of like know what the part's going to be and want to play it to the tempo that it's going to be at. And I like to try to play it like that almost from the beginning. There are some parts that say, like I was getting at, where Alex, our bass player, would write the song, and he would actually write some of the drum parts, and it would be hard to figure out what's going on at the tempo that it's supposed to be at. So there has been in the past where I would have some slower versions of that just to kind of understand it, and then go, oh, okay, I get it now. All right, and then you build up to that tempo or BPM. So it happens a little bit, but not a lot.
Okay, what do you remember about Cannibal Corpse live in Moscow, 1993?
I mean, yeah, I got to watch the videos like everybody else. the movie that was made, right? Cannibal Corpse Eats Moscow Alive. Because I'll tell you, it's hard to remember back then. I try to remember in my own memory and go, man, it's hard to remember. But when I watch the videos and I see what's happening, it was like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad we have that, because a lot of this would be probably lost. But I just remember, overall just being what a great time because of being there for the very first time. And I do what I do remember now about it, since going back to Moscow, of course, for a few times after that, what a difference Moscow, what the change, in from what it was in 1993 say, we went back 10 years later, and then 10 years after that, you're like, wow, the city has just, it's gotten bigger, it's blossoming, it's more. It wasn't the way it was in '93,
Yeah,
so
of course.
it was cool to see the transformation. That was cool.
Huge transformation, yeah.
Yes.
What are your plans now on touring and visiting Russia, maybe?
I don't know. I mean, you know what happened the last time we were in Russia. We've had those issues, and shows got canceled, and everything of that nature. So I don't know. I mean, I hope one day we come back to Russia. I mean, I know there's no plans right now, kind of a thing. So all we can do is kind of wait and see what happens.
You know that there are lots of fans in Russia.
Oh, I know.
They wait. Okay. Cannibal Corpse is ACDC of death metal. Is the next question. Classical representative of the genre, and all their songs are the same, but you can tell them from any other band. What do you think about this juxtaposition?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're labeled that as because we're consistent in what we do. I mean, obviously, we don't feel that we write the same song over and over, but we're Cannibal Corpse. I really, truly believe. You can listen to Eaten Back to Life, listen to all the CDs up until Violence Unimagined. It's gonna be Cannibal Corpse, and you're gonna know that. Yeah. But at the same time, there's always something subtly happening, something a little bit different, that changes it up a hair. But it's death metal here. We're playing brutal death metal. We're not, we're not incorporating clean vocals or what have you that is going to make it different. So I understand the analogy, and very flattering, of course, that we would be called that, because I take it as a compliment, of course, I think, like I said, just the fact that we stick true to what we've done, like ACDC does. They got their formula, and that's what they, stick to, and that's them, and there's no problem with that. They're, a great band, right? Why they're ACDC? Why should they be anybody else, right? We're Cannibal Corpse. We don't want to be anybody else but Cannibal Corpse. So
yeah, we will soon talk about your last album. But now, what's the hardest song of Cannibal Corpse for you to play live?
That's tough. I mean, there's a lot that would be very tough to play live that we may not even have attempted yet. Because I think what we'd like to do is try. They're all challenging in their own ways, but I think when we're making up a set list, we don't want to try to put in some song that we feel, well, let's hope we can play this one good, because it's so hard. It's, some of those songs may just never get played because of that factor, because you want to come across as, with conviction, and you want to do it great. So there are some hard ones, though, over the years, though, not that they're in the set now, but a song like, say, Dead Human Collection, and, a lot of the stuff that Pat wrote was very difficult to play, and, there's been some tough ones in the set, So say right now we just played that show in Las Vegas. We played 11 songs. We played one new song. Those would be the tricky ones. I know we're going to attempt to play some of these new songs off of Violence Unimagined, and obviously we've yet to do that. Those are going to be some tricky ones if we want to throw in like a song like Condemnation, Contagion, and what have you. That'll be difficult. So. But yeah, they're all hard in their own way, especially the older we get, right?
Yeah. What was the last time Jim Carrey officially attended your live show?
Oh, he's never attended any of our live shows,
Never?
So no, I mean, yeah, we always have this conversation with people. Yeah, we don't know anymore. I mean, from what I hear that he isn't, and from who knows? We've never had any contact with him after the movie. So we don't know. He's never come to a show. There's never been a talk of, say, hey, somebody ran into him and we know he bought the last record. We don't know, So, yeah, kind of strange that it's been really, the movie's over. That's done. We go our separate ways, and who knows exactly. So it is.
You're not
it
friends,
is weird.
Yeah.
What's that?
So you're not close friends with him?
No, not at all. We never were. I mean, he got us in the movie, which was an amazing thing, and we're very appreciative of him for that, and the director and all this. But we were never friends, of course, with the guy, so, and this was we're talking pre-cell phone and all that, pre-internet, so it wasn't like, hey, I got your email address, or we got his phone number, we can keep in contact, I mean, it was really, it wasn't that way back then, of course, and kind of strange.
Myth busted, yeah. The question concerning pandemic, we live in some kind of a Cannibal Corpse zone right now. Zombies walking on the streets, eating each other and killing each other and so on. We hope that it will not be in the future. But the question is, have you received any support from the state for COVID-19? What is the situation in the U.S. right now?
It's crazy. I mean, who knows? It's. I don't even try. I'm so over it, kind of a thing. I mean, it's just like ridiculous. So, a lot of bands have received some state, being a small business kind of a thing. I received a little bit of help. We were going to go about that with individually, as a self-employed person kind of a thing, so I was able to to get some help. I don't know if everybody in the band did. I can't speak for all that, but I know as a whole, as a band, we didn't do that. I mean, it depends on the state you're in, really, here in the United States. Florida has been very lax within a lot of ways, depending on what governor you got, or what have you. So we've been open for months compared to, say, other states like California or New York State or whatever. But I it's just I just try to go about my business and not think about it too much, I guess. Obviously you have to, because it's affecting our touring, and that's the main kind of thing here. But who knows? I mean, it's still here, right? This whole variant, this Delta variant, and but I'm able to go to the store. If I want to go to a restaurant, I can go. Things are open. I haven't been sick, luckily. My daughter got COVID, but it wasn't like anything major. She wasn't in the hospital. She had a headache for a couple of days. So who knows? I mean, I just I'm trying not to think about it too much. But
okay, I understand. We've come to drumming questions. First of all, your playing is extremely physical and explosive, yet tasteful and dynamic. How did you practice playing with intensity, and how did you develop stamina? We all know that stamina is hugely needed in extreme death metal. So how did you develop it?
Just years of playing, really just years of practice.
Did you work on any drumming specific muscle groups, maybe?
No, I was never to be a technical kind of a person going, okay, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to work on that. I'm just going to work on playing, and it was just having that will. If you have that will, you're going to find a way. And I remember growing up, I mean, when you started out, you didn't have the stamina. I guess you're young, you may expend that energy a lot quicker. You play a few songs and you're going, oh my God, I'm done. I'm tired, because you're just giving it your all. Well, how are you supposed to play an hour then, for that matter? Well, you got to build that up, So it was just a lot of repetition, a lot of playing, of pushing each other, I remember in the early days, it was, all right, hey, we want to do this double bass part, 4 more times. Oh, I can only do it 2. Okay, well, all right, well, let's just keep playing, keep practicing. Maybe in a week, maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to do it. You can do it. And then sure enough, right, with practice, with repetition, with dedication, you did it, right? So it was a lot of that. I mean, if anything, the older I got, it was learning how to use your muscles properly more. To be able to keep your arms in tighter. Work on maybe and I didn't do this when I was younger. I was doing this probably more within the last 10 years of just working on making sure I'm sitting properly. Everything's set in a right spot where I can minimize movements of my arms and all that.
Now
to get
90,
optimum
90 degrees air on your drum stool.
Yeah, right. So I'm sitting I'm sitting better than I was. You go through so many changes over the years, and I went from sitting proper to sitting really low for some reason to sitting back where I need to be, and I don't even know how that happened. But it wasn't good. I was fighting my body for the longest time. So, but yeah, you just gotta. I think especially when you get older, you got to eat right. you got to get sleep. If you get good rest, you got to stay hydrated. Those things are really critical, in drumming and just feeling good in general, right? So it's a bit of everything that I think with age and just being a little more, I should say, wiser. You get wiser to everything. You figure things out as you go. And the wisdom develops, and it should. And I know it has with me in the sense of, like I was just saying, the things that I've done to try to better myself, especially in the latter years here. So,
but it seems to me that it's easier for you right now to play than in your young age.
I think so. I think it's definitely easier. You know what to do. Your mind works better than, like I said, when you're younger, you're just like, it's just pure adrenaline, and you're not even thinking of anything else than that. And you can expend your energy a lot quicker, perhaps. And now it's like learning how to exactly, maintain that, and to, figure out how to, hey, I need to play longer, and the songs are technically getting a little bit maybe harder. What can I do to help myself out here, and I don't think I was thinking of those things back when I was 20 years old or 25 years old.
Do you feel more relaxed right now when you play?
Yeah, I think so. I think I definitely feel more relaxed than I did when I was younger. I think even when you're younger, it's still too new. Everything's just so exciting, and not that it's not exciting now, but I can definitely say when I go to sit behind the kit, play live now, that I know I'm feeling a lot more relaxed and maybe a lot more confident perhaps than I was when I was younger, because I just didn't have that experience yet. It's still, fresh and new, playing live and all that kind of thing. And, now it doesn't seem as big of a deal anymore, so that definitely helps, right?
So what's your approach to playing live shows versus how you play in the studio? What's the difference?
Well, the studio is way different these days because, right, like if unless you're going to just sit and, you may be able to do a take a couple of times or do a take and go, hey, let's hey, we'll stop here and take it from this spot. You know what I'm saying? You get halfway to the song, and then you don't have to do the song in its entirety now. Especially when you're utilizing stuff like Pro Tools, and if you have more time to deal with the studio, you don't have to get it done in an instant. You don't have to be the one take person. Sure, you'd like to get as much done as possible, but you don't have to. I think the mentality has changed in that way for so many bands and people, because you just want to make the record sound great. In the end, you can, as long as you can play this stuff live, then however you have to get there to get that finished product, so it's definitely different than it is live, because live's live. There's no stopping in the halfway point of the song going, okay, give me a second, then we'll take it from here. It's, you got to get the whole thing done, of course. So yeah, the fact that you can piece maybe some songs together if you have to, or what have you, it's going to make the big difference between live and recording these days.
Okay. The last album definitely sounds like a record where the music and drums are interconnected and the parts are dependent on each other, as always to be true. It's a record with twists and turns that keep the listener engaged. What was the influence of Erik Rutan on the writing process as we hear his specific solos? Has he written any guitar riffs on the songs? Maybe it will sound funny, but it seems to me like this album is a cross of Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel of Erik's era. What do you think about it?
Well, he wrote 3 songs. Of course, he's going to do a lot of solos over all the songs here and there.
But he wrote 3. Are very Morbid Angel wise.
Yeah. I mean, they're Erik. They're Erik's solos. When you know what solos Erik is and the way he solos, of course, that's his style. But out of the 11 songs on the record, Erik wrote 3 himself. So those songs in particular, if you listen to you can probably pinpoint them if you do listen a little more, because Alex has usually a certain style, Rob's got a certain style, and then now Erik brought in his element of trying to write a Cannibal Corpse style Erik Rutan song as opposed to a Morbid Angel style Erik Rutan or a Hate Eternal Erik Rutan. So he wrote Condemnation Contagion, he wrote Ritual Annihilation, and he wrote Over Torture. So those are all him. Those are his songs, his arrangements, his riffs are 100% Erik. And then the other songs are not, right. Alex and Rob wrote the other songs, albeit, like I said, right, Erik has solos in those songs, but he had nothing to do with writing of any of the riffs in any of those songs, just the three I mentioned. So yeah, it's just, he gives a new element to the band. Of course, he gave us a little kick in the butt, right? You know, just having, when you get a new member, and you know, he's such a positive person and such a great guy and a great influence. I mean, he just, you know, he brings out the best in you because he's that kind of a guy, you know. So it was great having him from the beginning, and then like I just said, exactly, having a different take on now, you know, where Erik is going to put his stamp on what a Cannibal Corpse song is to him, you know, which is pretty cool. So yeah, man, what an album! I think it turned out great. I mean, all the songs are great. All the guys are writing amazing. I think Rob has come into his own, and you know, everything's meshing well. Exactly, the drums mixing with the songs and the riffs. I mean, I think we're just on top of our game in the songwriting department. So you know, we can't complain on there. But yeah, Erik, what a force to be reckoned with.
So he's a permanent member of your band right now, yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
How long have you been writing your material?
For Violence Unimagined?
Yeah.
Well, the last tour we did was November of 2019 for the Red Before Black tour cycle. So we had, I think, maybe one or two songs were written there. I think Alex had a song, but we didn't really start pressing with the writing till early 2020 to early 20 there. So we wrote for the most part between, you know, December, January, February, and March of 2020. And then we went in to record in April of last year. So you know, we spent a good 4 or 5 months writing, and went in to record that record.
Where do you find the inspiration for your lyrics?
Well, it's just, you know, for me, you know, I can only speak for myself, but I mean, obviously we want them to be horrific horror kind of stories. Of course, it's Cannibal Corpse. I only wrote 2 songs on Violence Unimagined lyrically, and I come up. To me, they come from within now. You know, hey, if we got a title, and you know, we kind of know what it's going to be about, then I just kind of think for a minute. Well, what am I going to write about? You know, kind of come up with a concept in my head. Maybe you get a couple lines, and then you know where you're going. So for me, it's really just kind of delving into the imagination, and then bringing something out of my imagination. These days, you know, back in the early days, you might have had a little more influence of, all right, maybe I need to, you know, read something, or, you know, or maybe I'm going to go off of a movie or something. But I think we've absorbed for so long, and I know I have over the years, that, like I said, it's just going to come out. I want to bring this out of my own imagination, because obviously I've been doing it for years, and we've been around, and you know, there's enough in my own head that can be pulled out. So that's the way I'm writing lyrics these days.
Okay, how has your drum setup changed lately, and why?
You know, it really hasn't changed too much over the years. I mean, I've stayed pretty basic in my setup, and I've stayed pretty consistent. You know, if anything, it's always going to be working on certain things. Like you know, recently I raised the toms up a little bit more. You know, I was just like, you know what, let me raise them up. I had them a little lower, you know, just trying different things. What feels the best, you know, what really works the best. You know, I mean, one of the best things I did over the years, and I think I started doing this maybe, I don't even know, 6-7 years ago, you know, putting my hi-hat closer to my second kick drum, to my left kick drum, where, you know, you use the old hi-hat clamp, where it clamps onto the kick drum, and it clamps onto your hi-hat stand. You know, you have to fold up your legs, because I never played like that. My hi-hat was always farther to the left, and I felt bringing it closer, you know, and then my body, it was, you know, I didn't have to play across my body as much with the hi-hat. It was more kind of like my hand was able to stay in front of me a little more. And as soon as I started doing that, that was a huge huge difference, and it made a lot of. I really like it a lot, and I loved it, and I'm never going to not do that now. So I think it's just going to vary. I noticed I raised my cymbals up a little more within the last few years. Instead of kind of like lower and reaching, I felt that if they were higher, I'm just kind of like lifting. Instead of that seemed to be a little bit better on my shoulders, where you can just go like that as opposed to having to go like that. And so just little things that you got to keep. I think drummers are like that. You're always going to be experimenting with different things. You even when you feel you're good. All right, this is it. This is great. Something will go, months will go by, and you're going to go, man, let me try this. Let me lower that. Let me raise that. And it's just the way the drummer's mind, I think, works. So. But I think I'm in a good spot right now. I'm pretty happy with my setup, and I'm glad I made these tweaks over the years.
Okay, a lot of Cannibal Corpse songs are relentless in terms of the drumming. When you have the capacity to technically play whatever you want in a genre in which playing a lot of notes is encouraged, when do you know when to go for it and when to lay back and allow sections to breathe?
I think that just becomes, the good thing with Cannibal is, like, I'm not that kind of a drummer where, I'm some of these guys are just insane back there, and they want to be doing very busy what they do. I was never that drummer. I never wanted to. I didn't have to be busy. I don't have to be the focal point. I just want to I want to complement the song. So I think that just comes with experience too. We did it early on. When I listened to the early stuff, I think we did it fairly well. That's the kind of drummer I wanted to be. I didn't want to be, I wanted to be more, I wanted to be fast and brutal and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it didn't mean I needed to be playing, 1,000 hits, in every song, right? Or cluttering every part with some craziness, So if you listen to the early stuff, what are our popular songs, like I Come Blood and, things like that, or even a Hammer Smashed Face or Strip Raped and Strangled, where, the drumming isn't doing anything particularly, technical or insane or anything. It's just, it fits the riffs, it's heavy. We always wanted it to be heavy. And a lot of times I think that the less is better, with the drums, for optimum heaviness. So, it's just something that we always had in our minds, I guess, and that may be a reason why we're, as big as we are and having the longevity that we got. We always want to write a good song, and, I think that's been key. And, like I said, probably a reason why we're still here today. So. Great.
Do you use a click track for your live shows?
Now I do. I started that when we started incorporating the click track into the writing on the Evisceration Plague album back in 2009. That was well documented. We never used a click track. I never played to a click. I never wanted to. And then in 2009, I remember Alex said, "Hey, I want to write the record to the click track," and I guess I was ready. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. I feel ready. I feel like I want to, and we've never looked back. So now live, when I'm playing anything new from Evisceration Plague up to this point, I am using the click track. Right. There's a couple of songs that we were able to click out that are older, which would be very difficult, because obviously they weren't written to the click track. So there's always a lot of fluctuation in the early stuff. But we kind of tightened up some of that, and we were able to play a song like Stripped, Raped, and Strangled. We found a BPM that works just to play to the click track and not have a programmed click where there's going to be all these shifts or anything. So yeah, we're playing a lot of the set to the click track. And I really truly enjoy it. It's really been helping me out big time as a tool, of course. And I wish I would have started doing this earlier, but it is what it is,
Okay. Do you have any health issues now? How do you overcome the limitations of human body resources?
Yeah, I've been lucky to be healthy pretty much my whole life. I think I got good genes, where I'm always always, not really ever sick or anything like that. Always been an active person, kind of a thing. So not that I'm high strung or anything like that, but always on the move. I was not a person to really just sit down. So that of course has helped. But exactly, you never know. I think a lot of it is luck, because guys my age, exactly, they can't walk or do anything, let alone play drums, right? Or you know of drummers that over the years, they had back problems, they had arm problems, they had problems with whatever, so many different ailments that could come up, and luckily nothing major has ever come up for me, and I don't really do anything to combat that other than just like I said, you live, and hey, I'm lucky, and I'm just trying to practice, eat right, like I said, stay hydrated, get the rest you need, and hope my body can hold out for as long as it can hold out here, because you never know. So yeah, knock on wood. Luckily, I've been fairly healthy my whole life. So I think I would, like I said, I chalk it up to more good genes.
So no any workouts?
Not much. I mean, I've never been much to work out.
Running.
A lot of it. I like to stay active. I probably should work out a little more than I should. I started doing a little bit of that in the last few years, like push-ups and, just kind of like working my body a little bit more. And that's helped, of course, but you can always do more. It's funny because I've never been that guy. I've never been one to work out or even play too much drums on my own. I had to kind of learn to do that over the years and do that more now than I ever have, which of course is helping me. I still play ice hockey, so I'm out on the ice, once a week or so, and yeah, I mean, there's always more you could do. So I'm gonna have to, I was just talking to a friend of mine about that, going, I need to do some more, because exactly, the older we get, it's not getting any easier, but it's finding that motivation to be able to say, go at least take a walk, right? Hey, just go do something a little bit more strenuous besides the drums, besides playing ice hockey. So I don't do a lot of that. So I'm lucky to have that natural energy, and to be able to maintain that at my age. Exactly. But you can always do better, right? So I'll work on that.
Great. Do you record your shows to listen back to them? Do you analyze your playing?
No, I don't. I never liked that. I should. But I never was one to do that. I don't know why. I never liked watching myself play and really listening to myself play. It's funny. But what a great thing to be able to learn, I should do that. But I don't, and I just kind of rely on everybody else, like, hey, if somebody in the band's go, you were playing that too fast, or you're playing that, or, okay, then you consciously know you got to work on that, or, or I'll consciously know now what needs to be done. Like, I just know I'm not doing this part as clean as I need to be. All right, I got to work on that. And then, so I tend to know those things more than I ever have early on, but yeah, I should do that, but I just don't, I don't know why. Weird.
Let's talk about your drum gear. How have you chosen your endorsements? Zildjian, Czarcie, Ddrum. Why have you chosen these brands?
Yeah, well, I mean, Zildjian, I think that's a no-brainer. I mean, I think Zildjian are the, top-notch, best cymbals in the world, kind of a thing. And but it's funny because I was never a guy to want to, try to get products, try to find companies and things like that. I mean, but the older I got and the more popular Cannibal Corpse got, I felt, hey, well, maybe we can get some endorsements. Maybe some companies will come to us and say, yeah, sure, here, use my product. You're in a big band here that a lot of people see you play, right? So I remember when we actually first got our management, because we were self-managed for the longest time, and management, we're like, hey, we're going to see what we can do here with companies, in every aspect, drums, guitars, and what have you. And I remember Zildjian, they got a hold of the cymbal companies, and Zildjian came back and said, yeah, well, we'd love to have Paul as an artist, we'd love to have him. Here's cymbals if he's willing to be on our roster. I'm like, of course, that'd be amazing. I felt I was in shock. like Zildjian want me? Like, you gotta be kidding me. This is amazing because it's
they,
Zildjian.
why did they stop producing Z models?
I have no idea. You know, I don't know. Because I was using those Z models in the early days, and when I first became
the best symbols in the world, and they discontinued them. I don't know why.
I don't know. They must not have been big sellers, I guess, you know. I mean, so I was using them, but you know what? To tell you that for me, I'm using the A customs now. So I'm using pretty much A custom with Zildjian, and I think I love the A customs. I don't know if I want to use anything else Zildjian makes. I don't even try. I just stick with what I got. But yeah, I don't know that. It's a good question. I don't know why they discontinued the Z. I would imagine they just weren't big sellers for some reason, and then, you know, they're just not going to keep that line around. But I don't know. So I got lucky to get Zildjian, and then on Czarcie, the owner came up to me. I'll never forget that. He came up to me at Brutal Assault in Czech Republic about 10 years ago, and we were just about to go on stage, and he said, "Hey, Paul, you know, I love Cannibal Corpse. I make these pedals, you know, and I'm a big fan. I'm from Poland, and, you know, I love Cannibal Corpse. I would love for you to use my pedals." And I go, "How? Well, I'm going on stage in 5 minutes. Maybe after the show we can talk a little more." And we did. And he gave me a set of pedals that day. And I said, man, he wanted me to start using them immediately, but we're in the middle of a tour here, you know? And I go, hey, I got to take these home and try them, man. I can't just commit to using these pedals, albeit they were intimidating, right? I'm looking at these going, wow, I was using Axis, and these things are just incredible. So I remember I took the pedals home after that tour, and I tried them out. The first time I tried them at practice, I was like blown away. And I'm going, okay, these are amazing. And I called them and told them, I said, yes, I will use your pedals. These are the best pedals I've ever played on. And I still say that to this day. And I know everybody that uses them says the same thing. So that's how I got those. He came to me and wanted me to use the pedals. So that was amazing. And then Ddrum, kind of similar in a way. I mean, they're local here in Tampa. Because it's Dean Guitars and Ddrum, and Rob uses Dean Guitars, and Ddrum, obviously, I'm sure you know, they really weren't a drum company. I mean, they had the triggers, and that's all they did. But I know they wanted to start making acoustic drums, and I dealt with them years ago, but they were really not that great of a company yet for drums. I remember when I first started using some Ddrums, they didn't even have hardware. And I'm like, well, this is a little kind of bootleg, you know? I mean, if I'm going to be with a company like Tama or Pearl or whatever, you know, at least you got everything. You know, you're with a prestigious place.
I think that Vinnie Paul was the trendsetter, yeah, for Ddrums.
Yes, he was. That was great that he was using them as well. But Ddrum, what I'm getting at then is Ddrum became a better company, of course. It took years for them to get to this point. And then when the owner came to me and said, hey, I'd love to have you as an artist and all this, and, you know, and I'd be like, man, this is great. I felt wanted by a company, you know, and I wasn't feeling that love per se by anybody else in the drum world. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'll use Ddrum. You know, they're good drums. They're better as a company now. They're local. They're willing to help me out. They're willing to promote all those things. You know, so yeah, they in turn built.
It's convenient and comfy for you.
Yeah, exactly. If I have any problem, right? I have any problem. All I got to do is drive down the road, and I can get parts. I can get things fixed, as opposed to having to ship things or whatever. And that I thought was a big plus, of course. And yeah, they built me a custom kit, you know, which no other company was going to do that. So hey, Ddrum built me my own custom drum kit. I mean, how amazing is that, right? So yeah, I'm happy to be using Ddrum and all the companies that I'm using. I mean, obviously those are the big three, and you know, that's basically how that came about, though.
Okay, what size of drumsticks do you use now? Regal tip, as I know, yeah.
Yeah, well, I haven't used Regal tips in a long time. I've been mixing it up for the last few years. That's probably the biggest change that I've done in the last few years. I was using those Regal tips for the longest time, and then I was still kind of doing different weights and different models, right? And then I stopped using Regal tip altogether I don't even know now. It's been a few years, and I started using VicFirths, and then I was using I don't even know what I started using, a 2B maybe or a 5A. I can't even remember, but I ended up just sampling so many different ones these days. I literally just changed sticks about maybe 2 years ago. Right now I'm using VicFirth's classic rock stick.
So heavy sticks. Yeah.
It's a heavy stick. It's a long, heavy stick, which was strange for me because I was using a much shorter, thinner stick for the longest time, But then I went to the heavy stick. So it's weird how that goes, where like how I was talking about just trying to different things and change things up, But I do find a heavier stick gives you more power, and
I think
you're
that
utilizing
it's more
the
rebound,
stick more.
yeah, for you with the heavy sticks. More
What's
rebound.
That? Yes.
Your technique is based on the rebound now, not hitting hard.
Yes. So it's a little bit of both. I mean, we still want to hit hard, but if your stick can help you in any way, the heavier one is going to do that more than the thin, because the thin, you're just working your body more. Exactly. You're not utilizing the stick because there's not enough weight there. And I've noticed that. And right. So using a heavier stick is definitely helped me. At first it was tough because you're just dealing with more weight and you're going, oh man, I'm tired now, my arms. Okay, well that's like, repetition, practice. Your body will get used to it, and it did. So I'm happy I went to the heavier stick, and who knows, I might change it up. Exactly, you never know, I might change it up again. But right now I'm happy using those VicFirth classic rock models.
Yeah, it's not jazz.
No, definitely not.
There was a number of different outstanding players in your band. Does your plan shift when new musicians around you?
Not really at all. I mean, I play the way I play. I might have to do a few different things depending on, like I said, like Erik comes into the band and his songwriting, if you listen, it was like, oh man, he's writing maybe a little faster than we would have wrote these days or something. So I got to step it up in that way, or so it really doesn't matter. I mean, I've been pretty much doing my thing back there. It's my kind of style of playing, so yeah, bringing in new members really doesn't affect my playing too much. It's just, having to adjust to somebody different, maybe a little bit of their style of writing. But when it comes down to it, it's going to be me playing the drums and pretty much doing what I normally do. So,
do you use fingers or wrists for the most of the time when you play fast?
Yeah, I mean, probably trying to use, fingers, of course. And, you're trying to use the fingers and wrists more than anything because exactly, if you're using all arms, you're going to wear out quicker. It's going to be more tiring. And I think I did that, that's what I was talking about earlier about utilizing your body more. I probably played more arm, and then wrists and fingers back in the early days because you're just going crazy and just giving it your all and being very primitive and primal. So yeah, I tend to use a lot more fingers maybe these days, and I'm trying to do more wrists. I was never that, like I said, I'm not the greatest on that, but you gotta do what you gotta do to for longevity, to keep playing here, to be able to be efficient and be able to play a show this of a certain length at this point in our careers. So I'm doing what I can to combat that, to play as best as I can. So yeah, a lot of wrists, a lot of fingers more.
So what specific things are you currently working on regarding technique? Right now.
Regarding what?
Technique.
I just try to play the songs. I mean, I don't do too much in the way of technique. I guess, like I said, if I find where I'm at, like, to me, it was finding that sweet spot of sitting properly, the toms where they need to be, the cymbals where they need to be, and then it's like, okay, now it's just a matter of playing then, right? Because obviously my style is very primitive in a sense. I'm not doing a lot of tech stuff back there,
So you don't have any warm-up routine or like that, things like that?
Well, live I don't usually. Live I just want to get the blood flowing. Live it's more about just
routine, something like that.
Yeah, my pre-show routine, like a lot of drummers, if they got more technique, well, what do they want to do? They want to sit on the pad and they want to sit and do that. Well, that's not kind of Cannibal style, To me, it's about just being prepared, being my body warmed up enough, to be able to go right into playing this kind of brutality, right? So what I would be doing these days would be, just maybe a little light stretching, just have the sticks in my hands, maybe do some sit-ups or some push-ups, really just getting the blood flowing a little bit more so, But I've never been one to do much in the way of pre-show warm-ups or routine.
So no singles, doubles, paradiddles, and so.
No, none of that. I mean, okay. I might hit on a pillow or hit on the back of a chair for a little bit, but overall, to me, it's more important just to get the blood flowing, and then maybe just have the sticks in your hands to feel them, and even if you're just air drumming a little bit, and that seems what I've pretty much done my whole career, my whole life. It's probably not the best way, but that's just the way I've done it.
You get used to it, yeah.
Yeah, hey, and it's working, I guess.
Can you tell?
But you can always do more. You can always do more.
Yeah, can you tell a few words about competition with younger drummers?
There's never a competition. I mean,
have they already reached the level you're at, or you're still number one in your genre?
Oh, I don't know. I don't care. I mean, really don't. I mean, I never looked at it as being a competition.
Do you know anybody from them?
Yeah, what? Young bands?
Extreme metal drummers, young.
Yeah, do I what from any of them?
Do you know them? Do you know any of
them?
Oh,
yeah, of course. Oh, of course. We know a lot of them. We've toured with a lot of these.
Can you name some of them?
Well, let's see. What would be the young ones? Like Alan Cassidy from, Black Dahlia Murder. I mean, we've toured with them, of course. And, Phil Dubois, that was playing in Revocation, that was my drum tech for a little bit. I mean, what was I forgot the guy's name, and he was playing for Eon at the end there, Emil. I mean, young kid. I mean, I remember he was only like 20 years old, and this kid was just like unbelievable with the speed and everything. And James Payne, I believe he's playing in Cataclysm now. And I mean, there's a lot of great drummers. I mean, it's all a friendship. I mean, we're all there doing what we love to do, and it's never been a competition. It's never been a competition for me. I mean, I know what they're doing out there, and it blows my mind. But it doesn't mean I need to do anything different, or I feel that I need to step up. I just want to, as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm playing Cannibal Corpse style drumming, and that's all that matters. So, it's just, but it is amazing to see some of these kids that are just like taking it to a whole nother level. That was obviously not the drumming style when I was growing up, So it's pretty remarkable.
I think that being one of the first ones is a good position. Not the best, but one of the first.
I'll take that. Right.
Is it important for a musician to be flexible in relationships with other musicians and artists, or standing on your own is more important?
I think so. I mean, I think we got our own identity. I mean, like I said, I'm not the fastest drummer. I'm not the best drummer. I play drums in Cannibal Corpse, and hey, we're obviously a pretty big band, and we've been around a long time, and we've been influential on a lot of people. So, so that's a great feeling, of course, to have that, to know, that we were at the forefront of a genre, back in the late 80s, and still here, and being, one of the, whatever you'd call it, the grandfathers, the godfathers, whatever they say. I mean, it's a pretty cool thing, so, we're happy for that, those notions, and, we'll take it,
Do you follow trends in metal drumming?
Nah, I don't.
4-2, 4x2, 2x2 fills, and so on, triples, fives.
I mean, I don't think we've ever. I mean, I think that's the thing with Cannibal. We don't follow trends. when you listen back to like we just do what we want to do. We've never been one to like go, okay, well that band's doing that, or we need to, maybe you have a little bit of an influence of certain things, but and my drumming, it's just like, whatever the song is put in front of me, I'm going to play the way I play. Maybe over the years I've maybe tried something different or added something new, but overall I don't do too much different for a lot of things. Like the big difference was, say, on this new record, on the song Condemnation Contagion, all those fills that are going on in the middle, that was Erik's doing, and I'm like, okay, that's something that's unlike Cannibal, putting all
drums?
These fills. What's that?
He was playing drums?
Well, he programmed his drums for the songs. When the way Alex and Erik write, they write their songs and then they have them done, and they can send them to everybody and go, "Hey, Paul, well, here's the drums. Here's what I'd like for you to be playing because it makes sense." And he's already got them programmed. And a lot of times I'm going to keep what's there because it fits the song. So I'm going to try to keep it. It's going to change a little bit, of course, but that was Erik's idea of going, hey, I'd love to have all these fills going on in the middle there. And I'm like, okay, probably what I wouldn't have done, but you know what? It'll be cool. It'll be different, and it'll still be Cannibal Corpse, So it pushed me, of course, to do that, and I'm glad we did. But so it's just little subtle things like that, because it's not really a different technique per se. It's just a different way of presenting the drums within the song, So yeah, I think that's what that's the only way I can say that what we would have done over the years. We're never going to go, oh, listen to what that guy's doing, so we need to write like that, or listen to what that band how they arrange a song or like that. I don't know what's going on in the world of drums these days, or new bands or anything. So it's probably a good thing, because I'm just going by the way what's in me. And I'm going to play Cannibal Corpse. So
maybe it's the reason why you're still here.
Probably, yeah, you're right. We're just doing our thing. Like we were saying, we're the ACDC of death metal, right? We're just playing our. We do what we do, and that's it.
I've noticed that you like it. Do you play for the song, or are you still trying to impress an audience?
No, never. I've always played for the song. I don't try to impress anybody. I don't care. I'm not out there. I'm not a guy that's like, look at me play.
Even
I'm like,
in
man,
your younger age?
No, not even then. Not even then. I was never that guy. I never that guy.
When I first heard Hammer Smash Face in the 90s on the cassette of my friend, I was blown away totally with the drummer's technique. And I thought that drummers would impress everybody with his technique, but it's not.
Well, it probably did impress some people, but that wasn't the reason why I'm doing it. And I didn't look at going, hey, look at me, guys, look what I can do. I'm just doing what I want to do, Oh, you like what I do? Oh, cool, man, that's awesome. I appreciate it, That's always the attitude I've had, and I think all of us in the band, for that matter. But right, I guess we were one of, just right when you're writing drums like that back in '93, and it's different and it's catching people's ear because us being one of the first bands, so to say. Obviously there's others, but it wasn't done to try to change the genre or anything, or to influence anybody, but that's what ended up happening, right? So
you just had fun, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's always about fun. You gotta have fun. You gotta have fun what you do.
Playing metal.
You gotta play metal and have fun. That's key. That's key in any kind of music.
Remained.
Sure.
Just three. Who's better at drumming, human or computer?
I mean, I would say human. Human's always going to have the human feel. Now, the computer is never going to mess up, of course, but you need human feel. You need that human element, I believe. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nowadays, there are programs that emulate human feel. Do you know about it? Yeah. They syncopate things.
Yeah, there is, which is crazy that you can have these programs
very similar to human feelings.
Right. Right. No, you can write drums on a computer, use a program, and if you're good enough at programming, you wouldn't know the difference because of the way how programs are made these days. Exactly. Which, with the nuances, with the, the hit being a little different, a little off, which is crazy because obviously back, when it first started, that wasn't the case. And you could tell somebody's, oh, well, of course those are programmed drums. Listen to that. So it is amazing that can happen. But still, to me, it's just not the same as somebody actually still just playing it, with their own hands and putting that down to, to record. Still never going to be the same as human.
Still, they do not conquer us.
Yes, exactly.
Top 5 of the drummers you like most of all.
Well, Dave Lombardo would be my number one. Neil Peart, probably, it would be number 2. A big influence for me growing up was Gus Pin from Sacrifice. If you listen to those first couple Sacrifice albums, especially Forward to Termination from Sacrifice, man, I look back and I go, man, I really, I play a lot like Gus, I think, and I think that was a huge influence. He was such a huge influence for me. So what a great drummer. Gene Hoglan back in the early days, listening to Darkness Descends, listening to Darkness Descends, Dark Angel, was just amazing. Hearing him drum back then, that was incredible. And really, back in the really earlier days, Lars Ulrich was a huge influence for me.
What about rock drummers like Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, and so on?
They were more, they were there, but I was more, like I said, Neil Peart would have been the guy, but definitely I love rock and roll and I love all those drummers. I probably was, listening to it. I wasn't probably influenced as much back then, where now, of course, I appreciate all these guys more than I probably ever did. All the original rock drummers like Ian Pace, exactly, and John Bonham and all that. Those guys are just phenomenal drummers. And, if it wasn't for those drummers, there's no Neil Pearts, there's no, metal drummers and all that kind of stuff. Charlie Benante from Anthrax, of course, was another one. But yeah, the amazing drummers, Peter Criss even, because that was the first band that I really, really loved was Kiss. So how can Peter Criss not be a guy that I listen to and go, wow, that guy's amazing, and all that. And, so he's going to influence me in some ways, of course. So.
And the last question, what do you think about classical drumming education and the self-taught guys as you are?
What was the first part of the question?
What do you think about classical drumming education and self-taught guys, like you are self-taught?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think I think that's nothing wrong with that. I look at myself as being, what would Cannibal Corpse be a different band if I wasn't self-taught? Would those early albums be that if I was more, technically, schooled? When I'm going to go, well, that ain't right, or I got to do this because, right. I played by my feel. I played by my passion, by my, what I felt was right, and whether it was right or not, it didn't matter as long as the 5 of us were on the same page. And I think that's how a lot of that early Cannibal was and is, So I always think of that. And I think it would be a different band if I, started playing drums when I was 5 years old and, learned all the, rudiments and took the lessons and did everything proper, so to say. Might be different. So yeah, I got nothing, nothing against any of that. The older I got, of course, like I said, yeah, man, I wish I would have incorporated maybe using the click track early on at least, or, maybe it would have been nice to take some lessons just to learn some things, but then at the same time, here I am, things happen, you learn, along the way, and things happen for a reason or whatever, and, things could be worse in our situation. So I think, I think there's no right or wrong way about music in general, like that.
This is a great conclusion.
Yes.
I very appreciate your time. That you've been more than 1 hour, 1 hour and 50 minutes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's a very huge interview of yours on the internet.
Yeah, that is.
Well, I'm off in the stream, and I want to ask you.
Okay. Yeah.